It is wonderful to be here again. You know, my entry into anthroposophy was through its Christology. My first anthroposophical book cost me 99 cents and was titled The True Nature of the Second Coming. I bought this book because it was the cheapest book I could find at the Threefold Bookstore in the auditorium in Spring Valley, New York in 1976. At that time, I was searching for a book that I could use to prove to my girlfriend that this anthroposophy that she was interested in was totally ridiculous. I was sure by this preposterous title that I would have sufficient material to prove my case. This book certainly did turn me into a basket case for anthroposophy. You know, it was through Christology that I found my way here. Here we see a recolored Last Supper by Leonardo da Vinci. One significance of the Last Supper is that it contains the transition from nourishment taken from the dead animal to nourishment taken from the dead plant. We might ask, since we've gone from dead animal to dead plant, what will come next? All that is earthly bears within it the seeds of decay and death. We are to see the work of the Father in bread. By consuming it, the bread becomes our flesh. Bread was to be regarded as the concentrated extract of the cosmos, while the blood was regarded as the extract of the nature and being of mankind. The mystery of Golgotha was a cosmic event that changed the nature of both the earth and the heavens. Christ expressed this in the words, "He who eats my bread treads me underfoot." Men do not live by bread alone, but by the spiritual which comes from the spiritual world. So where did we come from? And where are we headed? This is a cosmic picture, you see, of the turning point of time. Other U-shaped diagrams could be drawn for our evolution of consciousness or for our bodily evolution. In the future, what is the physical body will be so changed that what feeds this future body will be directly from the mineral kingdom. Regarding this change, Steiner said, bread and wine are there as the symbol of the fourth epoch. What should develop in the future is a further ascent from plant to mineral nourishment. Bread and wine must be sacrificed again. They must be given up. Today's bread comes from the plant kingdom. To digest such coarse bread, we need to have healthy bodies, strong for the digestive process of making starch and sugar. That piece of bread you ate a few hours ago, it has become man in you. Now, I would like our exploration to begin with the notion of not only making bread, but making the daily bread, that is, the bread from the grain of the day that you see listed here. Each grain has come into being with the forces of one of the planets. What value might there be in consuming, in the course of each week, something from each of the planets? Ah, the 7 loaves of bread mentioned in the feeding of the 4,000. Such daily bread is really the healthiest food for us. Now, Christ entered the body of Jesus at the baptism. After entering this human body, Christ was met with human temptations. Who are the beings of temptation for humanity? Here we see the 3 temptations that Christ had to face. Rudolf Steiner spoke of these in the 5th gospel. First of all, the Christ being within the wilderness of the body of Jesus encountered Lucifer, who works upon men when they prize the self too highly and are lacking in humility and self-knowledge. Lucifer's aim is to play upon the false pride. And so he says, "Behold me. If thou wilt enter my kingdom, I will give thee all the beauty and the glory contained in these old kingdoms, but thou must sever thyself from the other gods and acknowledge me." Lucifer described all the glories of his world, everything that makes an appeal to the human soul whenever an iota of pride exists. But the Christ being came from the spiritual worlds and knew who Lucifer is. He knew how souls on earth must act if they desire to resist the temptation of Lucifer. He had the power to repel this onslaught of Lucifer. So then Lucifer made a second attack, but for this he called upon Ahriman, and both addressed the Christ. Lucifer said to him, "If you will acknowledge me through my spiritual power, I can give you the power to overcome the laws of gravity. If you will acknowledge me, I will nullify the effects of the fall from this height, and no harm will come to you." And Ahriman added, "And I will keep you from fear. Cast yourself down." And both sat upon him. But in their onslaught, the one held the balance against the other. Christ Jesus found the strength that man must find on earth if he is to stand firm against Lucifer and Ahriman. Then Ahriman spoke, "Lucifer, you have not enhanced my power, but weakened it. Let me do this alone." So Ahriman said to Christ, "Turn these stones into bread." The Christ replied, "Men do not live by bread alone, but by the spiritual forces which come from the spiritual worlds." Then Ahriman said, "You may indeed be right, but that cannot prevent me from keeping a certain hold upon you. As spirit, you have just descended from the heights. You have not yet lived in the world of men. There below, in the human world, are men who must make stones into bread, who cannot draw their nourishment from the spirit alone." That was the moment when Ahriman communicated to Christ something that could indeed be known only on earth. Before this moment, Christ did not know that there below it was necessary to turn mineral substance, metal, into coin and then into bread. Ahriman then said, "I shall use this power." The temptations were not all solved yet. To be in a physical body is to be open to temptations. Only the Christ, because of what he went through, can help us find our way through these temptations. By doing so, the beings who tempt us are placed on the path to redemption. The Tribute of Money is a fresco by Italian Renaissance painter Masaccio, located in the Brancacci Chapel in Florence. The painting is part of a cycle in the life of St. Peter. It describes a scene from the Gospel of Matthew in which Jesus directs Peter to find a coin in the mouth of a fish in order to pay the temple tax. When we give love, is our love diminished? Let's apply that to the feeding of the 4,000 and the 5,000. Each of these connected stories speak of an increase of bread. In the feeding of the 5,000, 5 loaves were divided among 5,000. Then the fragments were gathered. This led to 12 baskets full of fragments. Then the second time, when 7 loaves were divided among 4,000, there were 7 basketfuls of fragments. What is the meaning of this increase of bread? What kind of bread is this? Certainly, it was not bought with money. We might ask, is there a progression here? Does this lead to, I am the bread of life? In John 6:51 are the words, I am the living bread that has descended from the heaven. Here Christ says, this bread is my body, the living bread. Then he says, he who dipped his hand with me in the dish will betray me. We must realize that each of us have that Judas tendency within us. You know our modern expressions, money speaks, time is money. We all at times ascribe to them. The only means for the soldiers to arrest Jesus was through one who placed himself in the service of Ahriman, who in actual fact betrayed him for the sake of what could buy bread, money. Christ Jesus was connected with Judas because of Ahriman's unresolved temptation to turn stones into bread. Because Ahriman had retained the sting, this betrayal had to take place. And then Christ had to submit to the dominion of the Lord of death. And Ahriman is the Lord of death. Ahriman has a major role in the mystery of Golgotha. But if not for Judas, would the mystery of Golgotha ever have taken place? Peter was strong enough to follow him only this far. The shame of his 3 denials would prevent him from being present upon Golgotha. Who among us could have been as strong as Peter? Yet even Peter failed. Will each of us wash our hands of any guilt in this matter? Does Pontius Pilate have a voice in our soul? Have all of us become desensitized to finding truth? Truth was once given to us through the ancient mysteries, and before the mysteries, it was given by direct experience of the spiritual world. Today, do our sympathies and antipathies delude us? What is truth in our times? There were 2 others crucified that day along with Christ Jesus, a convicted thief on each side. Through these thieves, Lucifer and Ahriman speak. What is a thief? What might have been stolen from us without us even aware of it? Beside the cross of Jesus were his mother's sister, Mary of Cleophas, and Mary Magdalene. 3 women and just one disciple, namely John. Note the skull of Adam at the base of the cross. Golgotha means the place of skulls. Let's listen to what Luke had to say about this scene from Luke 23. And one of the malefactors which were hanged railed on him, saying, if thou be Christ, save thyself and us. But the other answering rebuked him, saying, dost not thou fear God, seeing thou art in the same condemnation? And we're here justly, for we receive the due reward of our deeds. But this man has done nothing amiss. And he said unto Jesus, Lord, remember me when thou comest into thy kingdom. And Jesus said unto him, verily I say unto thee, beginning today thou shalt exist with me in paradise. To the extent to which we can let the selfishness within us die, to that extent we are immortal. That which is mortal in us is selfishness. Brotherly love overcomes our selfishness. Why were Lucifer and Ahriman part of this turning point in evolution? Steiner gave this answer, quote, "The very contrast between the Ahrimanic and the Luciferic will enable us to perceive the third reality. Human beings must consciously wrestle through to an understanding of this Trinity, the Trinity of the Christ impulse with its Ahrimanic and Luciferic influences. For without this consciousness, we will not be able to go forward into the future with the prospect of achieving the goal of earth existence. You see, for us to be preparers of the necessary future, we must become fully aware of this Trinity. This crucifixion is by Bramantino, who lived in Milan at the time when Leonardo da Vinci was there operating his Platonic Academy. Note, he paints this as a cosmic event with both the sun and moon present. Note the archangels. The red one has feather-like wings, while the others is bat-like. Here, the Lucifer thief is on the right below the moon, while the face of the Ahrimanic thief is dark. We will need the sun forces to confront Ahriman. The caduceus symbol, with its black and white snakes in balance, is identified with thieves, merchants, and messengers. Mercury is said to be a patron saint of thieves and outlaws, among others. How perfect. Today, humanity is working upon the consciousness soul. Today, the real battle is our inner battle. Only out of inner victory, overcoming selfishness, can brotherly love evolve. We see the condition before the activity of Christ. That is, as we now confront Lucifer and Ahriman. Lucifer and Ahriman leave no space for Christ. But if we Christianize what we meet in the world, when one can truly say, Christ in me, then one can inwardly separate Lucifer and Ahriman, not only within oneself, but even in what technology brings to us. As on Golgotha, Christ forms a trinity with Lucifer and Ahriman. But we should not think of the balancing of Lucifer and Ahriman as a static thing. No, in the course of evolution, there has already been an incarnation of Lucifer some 5,000 years ago in the East. Then came the incarnation of Christ. Now we face the incarnation of Ahriman. Evolution adds a dynamic to this balancing act, making it more like a dance of polarities. Ahriman had no influence on us until we fell from Eden to the physical earth during the Lemurian epoch. Our first physical body was composed of air. At that time, we breathed fire. Later, our bodies condensed into the watery element. Then we were like jellyfish. Not until the middle of the Atlantean epoch did we, as humans, finally step out upon the earthly element. Only then did sexual procreation for humanity begin with Seth. Before that time, we were androgynous beings. And I should mention that sexual procreation, according to Steiner, will end by the year 5700. In this fifth epoch, we must complete the spiritual impulses begun during the Lemurian epoch. As such, everything to do with the need for the physical for our evolution will end by the year 8000. The whole of our post-Atlantean cultural evolution finds its meaning when humanity has evolved through the physical world, where we can develop new talents for future epochs. A new life in the etheric realm will be our civilization during the sixth epoch. Ascension to this begins just before the seventh cultural age of the fifth epoch. Finally, our earthly evolution finishes with the seventh epoch when we ascend further into the astral realm. What will we be in that future time? Spiritual science shows that to understand evil, one must enter deeply into both the nature of human beings and the whole cosmos. To deny cosmic evolution is to close the door to any comprehension of evil. We must look at how human beings evolved in the past and will evolve in the future, and thereby seek to discover the mission of evil in the world. Here's a quote from Steiner: "Good could have been realized without Lucifer, but not freedom. In order to be able to choose good, man must also have the bad before him. It must dwell within him as the force of self-love. But self-love must become love of all. Then evil will be overcome. Freedom and evil have the same source." I'm showing the three prior solar systems and the three yet to come. What comes from the old dough is the leaven for the new bread. Leavening comes via Lucifer from old moon. Ahriman provides the substance for earth. This spiritual bread of our times uses both and is baked with Christ's love. As Lucifer is to freedom, so shall Ahriman be for our development of love. You can read this quote from Rudolf Steiner's letters to members that I show on this slide. Any warmth of soul is missing in Ahriman. John represents this future love. We find this described in John 21, when Christ is offering redemption to Peter for his three denials. We need to look at the Greek interlinear to truly appreciate this set of three questions. Do you love me? In Greek, the word love is agape. Peter's answer, paraphrased in modern expression, would be, Lord, I cannot lie to you, for you already know that I love you. Only Peter uses the word philia, which means love as well. Here indeed is a great mystery of our times. Philia is devotional love, as in the lover of Sophia, philosopher. But Christ was asking agape. So Christ asks the question again, do you agape love me? Peter, somewhat ashamed, knowing that he has not attained such love as John had, and realizing that he has fallen short, Peter sighs with soul pain. He answers truthfully, knowing that he can't exaggerate at all with Christ. Yea, Lord, you know that I philia love you. 2 of 3 denials redeemed, 1 more to go. But this time, Christ accepts Peter as he is by asking, do you philia love me? And Peter groans as his bread is baked by love and replies, yea, Lord, you know that I philia love you. Thus, full redemption for his 3 denials. Surprisingly, now Christ says, follow me. We've got work to do. Peter, knowing that all great initiates put their beloved disciple in charge when they left the earth, is quite confused. So he points over at the beloved disciple John and asks, what about him? Listen carefully to the reply. What is it to you that I have him remain until I come again? remain. Some of the disciples thought this meant that John was not to die, but it meant that Johannine Christianity was to wait until Christ reappears in the etheric. Now that time has come. Now is the time all of us can develop not just love, but oven hot agape love. Lucifer provides the leaven, Ahriman the substance. Christ mixes these and bakes with love. Now you know why there were three. To quote Rudolf Steiner, the Christ will not come in the Spirit if human beings are not prepared for him. Are you prepared? How can we all be prepared? We begin by sensing the discrepancy between our intellectual leanings, which make one regard oneself as an earth being, and our spiritual knowledge that declares, I am a cosmic being. When we come to truly understand in Christos Morimor, then can we act as co-preparers of the future with Christ. Now the words, my kingdom is not of this world, will lead us to say to ourselves, my kingdom too is not of this world. Thus we prepare the future. So here are our three questions which we can take into our breakout rooms. What is meant by not of this world? If evil has a role by becoming the good, what then is Ahriman's role? And third, what does it mean to be a preparer of the future? So thank you all, and let's have a great discussion, and we'll come back here later. Bye now.